Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Harun Afar, may Buddha bless you. This is Qesankh with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to talk about the genocide against men. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is the first time to my channel, or your first time to my channel, excuse me, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload new videos. If you're interested in taking your spiritual knowledge to the next level, you can download a free ebook and learn more on my spiritual teachings. You can just scroll down below, click on any one of the links, and start reading today. If you want to take your knowledge to the next level, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. It's up to you. You can cancel at any time. You'll get exclusive access. Sorry, I've got something in my mouth that's screwing me up. Some B12 complex. Exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, on the spiritual, which will teach you how to meditate, how to conjure up the ancestors for your protection and to guide you, how to work with self-hypnosis to get rid of any negative habits that you may have, and divination. So all that's available to you as a Patreon supporter. So become a supporter today. Your support would be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So Harun Nefer, all right, give me 1 second, because I'm still like, I didn't like swallow it. I was like, had it under my tongue because it dissolves and goes right into your bloodstream. And so it was getting, putting me in a tongue twister mode, you know. But anyway, I want to talk to you about a very serious subject. But before I do, I just want you to know that there's a thunderstorm going on, and the thunderstorm is all over, and I feel like I'm in a haunted house. I'm by myself, so I'm like, ooh, this is scary. Hope I don't see any apparitions or ghosts. So the transmission may go in and out. I'll try to make this quick, because if I do it too long, then you'll see a lot of artifacting on the screen, and you don't want to see that. But I want to talk quickly about this very important subject called the genocide against men. And I started noticing it a while ago. And I usually pick up on things very early on, because I'm an empath and very sensitive to the energy vibrations of the universe and of the earth. I know that sounds esoteric, but it's true. And one of the things is I always try to let people know what the latest trends are going to be, or what's going on in terms of the ruling elite's plan to dominate and control the planet. And one thing I realized, which was a shock to me, was that Black men in particular are not early adopters. Black men in particular are very reactionary and slow to take their action, even when it means that it's for their own safety and their own good. Now, that's not to put them down, but that's just the way it is. You have to understand that we have been socially engineered. I tell people we're not the same people that built the pyramids, even though we come from that lineage. You see, during slavery, they were breeding farms, and they would breed us to make sure that we were very strong and healthy and could do a lot of work. This is where they began to destroy families, have men, have sex with a lot of different women. So he can, if he was a very strong man, he would produce strong offspring. You know, that was important back then. But along that process, they breed out certain traits. They wanted to make us more passive, more compliant, things of that nature. So don't think that we have come out of slavery and we're okay. You know, I sometimes see these commercials where I see white people and Black people in the commercial living in harmony, and that nice house, picket fence, dogs, and all that. And I say, well, we're not comparable to them. We're not on their same level, because we have gone through a very traumatic event, and we need healing. This is the purpose of reparations, to deal with the mental illness. And I say that as truth. We are mentally ill. We're not balanced. Now, the planet as a whole, the population of the planet as a whole is mentally ill, psychopathic in a way. And white people in particular suffer from it's not the right word, but suffer from a type of xenophobia. But it's more of, if you look at books like Lord of the Rings, they codify within their movies and King Kong their absolute fear of Black control or domination. But anyway, I digress. Now, within that, one of the things I was talking about was the emasculation of men in general. We're seeing this as an agenda that's being put out and disseminated to all the media outlets, that they have to emasculate men in films and TV and whatever necessary that's going to be seen globally. And when I was talking about how the Black Panther was emasculated, he wasn't really a strong man, and that the original Black Panther was very intelligent, on par with, let's say, Tony Stark, Black men began to push back on that. They're like, no, the character was done right. It was a good character. His sister should be smart. Now, I want you to think about what I just said. Black men said his sister should be smart, even though that's not how the comic books portrayed Black Panther. Now, when I saw the election come up with Kamala Harris, I saw a lot of people were like really in her corner, especially Black men. And they were like, yeah, sister girl, she should be president. I said, well, she's done a lot of things that are detrimental to Black men. So is Joe Biden. Why are you campaigning so hard from her? And that comes from Stockholm Syndrome. You see, their goal right now is to take women and elevate women above men and put women in a position of control, and then program them, not all, to oppress men in such a way. Well, I won't go into the details of that, but let's just understand this. When I began to lay out this plan, I got a lot of pushback. And this is because, again, Black men were not early adopters. They couldn't really see. Their third eye is not open. They're very much asleep. As a whole, Black men are very much asleep, even though they want to talk about being awake. The Black national movement, nationalistic movement, I don't know what you call it. Black nationals are a joke. They're just an absolute joke, and they're backwards in their mentality, and they're fighting for the very thing that's going to destroy them. And so we're at a critical stage right now. What I have been seeing in the last year or two is the moving on to the next phase of their plan, the ruling elite's plan, which is, first it was just to emasculate men in general, white men and Black men. Now the plan is to basically eradicate them from your consciousness. In other words, so we're seeing on TV the absence of men in certain key roles, and the elevation of women as maybe powerful single women or single mothers, independent, this and that. And you're not seeing the men in the household. In the case of like regular TV commercials, you're seeing Black women with white men, and you're seeing a lot of it because it's planned. Now, all of these marketing companies and media outlets, there's no way that they all coincidentally do interracial commercials with Black women married to white men. Even though the statistics bear out that white men, and this is going from the statistics, are not interested in marrying Black women, and there is social pressure from within their families not to do so. I mean, it's fine to date them and sleep with them and to get their fetish off, but when it comes to actually marrying them, they risk becoming ostracized from their family, their legacy and inheritance. But that's a whole other discussion that I don't want to go into. But what I want you to understand is how the ruling elite has found it easy to go through this proxy of the woman to enact their deepest plan. And it's working. Quite frankly, it's working very well, in fact. Now, one of the things they did was, especially in the Black community, was to get Black women in a way to hate Black men and have such despise for Black men that they would carry this mindset over until the young children, to the young men, to where you have young men, adult men, actually, young and adult, despising men themselves, and they say things in their rhetoric and they don't even realize what they're saying. They don't. but it goes against, it's misandry. It basically goes against who they are, and they don't even realize that it's coming out of their mouths. And much, or for example, when I tell you that, and I'm not for any political party, I don't vote, I don't do any of that. But when I tell you that Kamala Harris says, you know, withheld evidence to free Black men who are on death row, they're not hearing that. All they're hearing is sister girl. You understand what I'm saying? They're not hearing the fact that the political system has to be done in such a way as whatever candidate is willing to give you what you want, reparations and or you know, stopping police brutality, then that's the person you're supposed to vote for, not the person you're voting for because they're a Black man or a Black woman. That's not, because what we see is that we have gotten caught up in surface level thinking. We're seeing everything from the color perspective, and that we're doing exactly what the racists and white supremacists were doing, but we're doing it now in a way that's hurting our own progress. So when we see that they're like, one brother was posting things that made fun of men in Hollywood who were interracially dating. I said, brother, why do you have such a hatred for men, your own men, that you're posting things about interracial dating? But then when it came to Kamala Harris, he was strangely quiet. And then the idea of interracial dating always seems to come up when a Black man is dating a white woman, but there's the Asian woman, there's a Latino woman, there's Muslim women, you know, I'm like, or Arab women, there's Polish women. So why is there this fixation on white women? Okay, and that narrative. So there's this hatred of Black men who date white women, but when a Black woman dates a white man, there's veneration, there's celebration. And it's just a double standard in a way. And this is because you have a system that has socially engineered us to the point of where men and our women act in such a way as to destroy the psyche of Black men. And instead of building Black men up to be protectors and leaders, they're being systematically destroyed and erased from history. Because now you're seeing commercials where Black men are not present for no apparent reason. This baffles me. You know, you're seeing commercials even with white men being the butt of jokes, demoralized. People are praising this new show Loki, and yet here they do it again. They bring on a female character that's just as powerful as him and just as smart as him, and is going to put him in his place. Same thing what they're doing with the new James Bond series. They bring a woman on who's supposed to be just as smart as James Bond and put him in his place. How many times have we seen that trope in movies? It's getting ridiculous. And every time they do it, the film bombs at the box office. It doesn't work. But they have to keep pushing it because they have to, it's like throwing things at the wall hoping one will stick. Because it's all about the programming and getting you to accept it and go along with it, even though the programming is wrong. And we have to do something about it. And we have to stop this misandry that's going on in the Black community. This hatred of men. It's prevalent. It's diabolical, and it's been put in place by the ruling elite. And they want to use Black women as the proxy for that. You know, the other day I was watching, I'm not going to say her name, but it's a woman who had her own TV show and all that, a young girl, not even ADOS or American Black. And yet, every time I turned around, she was being elevated. Oh, she's now on the panel for the Oscars. Oh, she's now the multi-million-dollar deal. Oh, she now is going to host this show. And I'm thinking the way that she broke into the industry was through a short film that was ultra low budget and wasn't really that great. In fact, I see young men out there doing films that are incredible work, astonishingly good. And what she did was nothing. But then it dawned on me, because I kept saying, why are they giving her all these accolades and positions? Because they've got to push her ahead of Spike Lee and Tyler Perry. Because the one thing that they know, if they can take a Black woman and push her into a position of power and then reframe her mindset to accept feminism, to accept the fact that she as a woman has been oppressed, not a Black woman, but this is a woman that's been oppressed, and that her oppressor has been the patriarchy put in place by Black men, then she will act to oppress Black men, to marginalize them. And that's what we see going on. We see women getting promoted and put into positions that they don't really deserve. Now, a lot of women are very good and they deserve to be in a position. But I used to say this when I used to see these Black men get promoted to CEO of major companies. And I would say that, well, you have to understand that these men, these Black men, you don't praise them too early on, because they have been vetted. They don't get to the higher position until they can prove that they're not going to hire, they're not going to make a sweeping racial change of the company. They're not going to suddenly hire all Black men and Black women. You're not allowed to get to that position if you're going to do that. And we saw that with the case in point of Barack Obama, who got to be the president, one of the most powerful positions in the world, and did absolutely nothing for Black people. Because you're vetted. They're not going to allow you. Disney will not promote me to head of Disney Pictures if they have any inclination that I'm going to start hiring en masse Black men and Black women. They will not do that. So I want you to understand their plan when they start suddenly giving accolades and promotions to the Black women, like the ones I've named here, because they have a plan for them. They want to use them to destroy Black men and men in general. Have to prove that they're about identity politics, JW movement, about feminism. Well, now you have this whole thing where you have critical race theory, and people are saying, we can't teach this in school, but yet when you go to university, you're taught feminism. And a lot of that, well, what they're taught is a lie, and it's wrong. And we know that Margaret Sanger, from the very early stages of feminism, talked about using Black women, getting them to abort Black babies. She appealed to the Christian church so she can reach Black women. That has always, always been the directive. Even in modern churches, we see that the pastor won't call out negative behavior of certain women. If a woman comes to church and she's pregnant, she doesn't have a husband, he's not going to say a word, because he knows that his support comes from women in the congregation. So he's going to keep quiet so he can get those tides coming in. So the next phase in what they're doing is to put these women in positions of power so they can set these women up, as what they did with Oprah, so that they can go after and attack men. Because I saw, for damn sure, I knew there was no reason why this woman who was promoted and given all these accolades was not that talented. Is not that talented at all. And we've seen this. Look at Felicia Rashad when she spoke up about Cosby. They don't want a Black woman to side with a Black man, to support a Black man. So they have to create this division and attack her and say, we want you to step down as dean of Howard University, just because she made a statement saying that justice was finally served. Now, I don't think Bill Cosby's a good guy, but that's not the point. You have freedom of speech. Oh, when the justice system does something that we like, we applaud it, but when it does something we don't like, then all hell is unleashed. Because might makes right in this world. So I want you to think about what they're doing and what their plan is. It's diabolical. And everybody is on page. They're on code. from the media outlets, Hollywood, news media, all pushing the same narrative and rhetoric. Black men are the villain. You can't show them in a positive light as scientists, doctors, lawyers. They're always going to be sports athletes, entertainers. And that you now have to en masse promote Black women in these positions so that we can get them to oppress their own men. This is already being done in corporate America with HR departments where they disproportionately hire Black women because they know what these particular Black women will do. And let's not forget, I'm not talking about all Black women. I'm talking about agent provocateurs, because the system works like this. They first get a Black woman who is on board with feminism and you know, her history and resume clearly states that she has issues with men. And then they get her to recruit and indoctrinate other women, even though these other women may not share the ideology starting out. But that's have to use these so-called taskmasters first to bring in others in the fold. Same thing with Black men. Get these Black men who are opposed to civil rights, opposed to reparations, put them in high positions of power, and then get them to do things that are against other Black men, create policies. There's no reason why we shouldn't have reparations already. And another tactic they use is they tie other movements onto us and give those movements a certain type of privilege. We'll see that, you know, Black people are protesting and asking for reparations. Suddenly the discussion shifts toward the LGBTQ community. Suddenly the discussion shifts to Asian violence. You may not believe in conspiracy theories, but there is an odd coincidence happening here. And we need to address this before it's too late. And the thing is, we need to address it from within our own people. We have to stop looking at just because someone is Black, that they're for us. That's not true. That's not true. And we have to start separating ourselves from them if they're going to act in ways that are diametrically opposed to our own interests and agenda. That's the problem of the Black nationalist movement, why it's never made any progress. That's the problem with the Nation of Islam and why it's not met any, had any significant progress. You're looking too much on the surface of things. You're not looking at the person themselves and saying, yes, they are Black, but what are they about? What agenda do they support? Do they support reparations? Do they support Black family? If they don't, then that's a red flag or two red flags. But we have to stop this whole idea of Black power, brother, sister. Not everybody's your brother. Not everybody's your sister. There are some Black men and women out there who are so corrupt, so evil, that they might as well be white supremacists. Do you understand? Stop looking at things just in terms of color. I used to go to these Black national movements, and the prerequisite to get in the movement is that you are Black. But that doesn't mean that you have this is what happened to Malcolm. You have agent provocateurs, infiltration here. You're not vetting people properly. You're just saying, "Oh, color. You got the color. Check the box. That's it. You're involved. You can be in them. You can be in our meetings." Oh, brother, why aren't you dating a sister? Well, a lot of the sisters have been indoctrinated into white feminism. They're messed up in the head. And if I go to the oracles, the word of God, and God says this Asian woman is for me, then that's the one I should be with. because her character is one of love and truth, and she'll make a good mother and a good wife. So don't try that shaming thing against me because I'm not dating a sister. That may not be in my destiny. And this Asian woman, I probably had interaction with her in a past life. Oh, but when it comes to Black women dating a white man, we don't say much. Look at the royal family. And even then, some are like, sister, you couldn't find a good brother? You couldn't find a good brother, sister? A lot of the brothers are still caught up in an infantile state. They think they're going to be rap stars. Baggy jeans, hanging pants down, slow in the head. So the quality that she may have to select from could be very poor. So if she finds that white man and there's a genuine connection there, shut the hell up. But everything's got to be color, like the white supremacist. You're just a white supremacist in blackface. And truth be told, the way that social engineering is done, Black men hate themselves, and Black women have a despise of Black men. So there's a lot of like mental anguish and messed up stuff going on in our head, and we need therapy for it. And we're not getting it, and that's the plan. They don't want to give us reparations because they know with reparations comes, well, we're going to have a more adequate healthcare system for Black people. That's going to make us more balanced. We're going to get the majority of Black people out of poverty. When you're trying to eradicate a group of people, the last thing you want to do is give them reparations. That's why there's such a pushback on it. When I was in priesthood, you could bring anybody in. If you were dating a Latina, if you were dating a Polish guy, you were welcomed in the temple because we knew it was about their character. If they were good people, it wasn't about their skin complexion. We said white people can come and sit down and take our classes. But we kept in mind what the history was and what had transpired. We weren't dumb. But this, and many of these, and I've been involved in it, these movements, many of these so-called Black nationalists, Black power people are some of the most warped, corrupt, backwards people there is. That was the whole idea of Malcolm's story, his autobiography, about coming into a Black organization and finding nothing but corruption in the organization. That was the whole thing with Marcus Garvey about his movement, corruption, jealousy. I've had Jewish attorneys come and say, look, I'll take your case for free. I'll work with you for free. Whereas Black attorneys where I get $1,000 an hour, you know? So just have some common sense in the way you think. Just because someone has a same skin tone as you does not mean that they're perfect. Does not mean that they're your friend. Does not mean that they won't stab you in the back. Get that straight. And stop generalizing about white people. Generalizing so much. Some white women have taken and adopted Black children and have raised them well. Some white women have married a black woman, married a black man, had a child, and raised him well. Case in point, Barack Obama. So stop acting like every person of a certain complexion is evil or every person of a certain complexion is good. You'll get yourself in trouble. Your life will be destroyed if that's the way you look at things. I had a talk with a police officer, a friend today, and he was telling me about how these black police officers are turning the other way. They know that there's corruption, and they're going along with it. Some of them are participating in it. Black police officers. This is why you'll notice in certain states you have, the chief of police or whatever is a black man or a black woman. That's just a figurehead. They want it to look good in case something goes down in terms of another shooting of a black man. Then they can seem like they're impartial and that they're fair because their chief of police is a black man or a black woman. When that person, his mindset is no better than a white supremacist. That's why they put them in those positions. But you think just because you see a sister or a brother as the head of the department or the police in that state, that hey, we everything's good. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because they have indoctrinated a certain amount of our people and put them in key positions. Just the right positions to thwart our progress. And you're so caught up in your so-called black movement that you think it's okay because they're black. Look what happened to the Black Panther Party, infiltrated. You've got to have a more analytical approach to what you're doing and start to understand their plan and how their plan is constantly moving and changing to adapt. The minute we get hip to one thing, they're already 2 steps ahead of us. And that's our problem. We're slow to react. The one thing I have to give the credit to black women is that they're early adopters and they stick together and they move in unison. Black men don't do that. Black men are a large amount, not all, are weak, timid, fearful, slow in the head, can't connect the dots, don't have analytical thinking. You see, BLM should have been eradicated, should have been dispersed by now, and black men should have led that. Why are they still in existence? They've taken all the millions and millions of dollars and given it to the LGBTQ community when that community represents less than 4%. And we represent anywhere from 12 to 14%? When the very tenets of the organization were formed for the purposes of stopping police brutality and police shootings of innocent black men are still going on. So what have they accomplished? Why haven't we done something? Black men in the 8th grade are reading on a 4th grade level. Why haven't we said something? Why haven't we done something? I'm speaking specifically to black men. Because we're focused on the wrong things. We're majoring in the minors. We'd rather go out there and attack another black man because he's dating a white woman than to look at the fact that we have a high abortion rate in our communities. We don't want to call that out. We don't want to say anything about that. We're not calling out the real problems. So I want you to think about everything that I've laid out. And if you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel in the super chat. Your donation would be appreciated. We are not going to be here in the future if we don't become smarter. If we don't, if we don't think strategically, we're going to be wiped out. Because they're planning 50, 100 years in the future. We're still in the past talking about, well, we got to do what Malcolm said. We got to do it. You know, that's the past, man. Their situations were different in how they approached it because of the time that they were in, but we have to adapt a new approach. And we have to understand that the enemy's plan is being adapted, changed for the times. We're still operating on an old playbook. We think that's going to help us. It's not. We have to take a really good look at the situation, where we're at, who are the key players, and start adapting a plan that's going to get us out of this situation before it's too late. I've made it an effort to disassociate myself from anyone in these Black nationalist movements because they're about nothing. They've built nothing, and they never accomplish anything but rhetoric, talk, rhetoric. And every organization, a lot of organizations are like that. I've seen them start fighting over, you know, light skin this, dark skin this. Yes, it degenerates to that. Hatepu Kes, Hatepu Black, Trench, Namaste, Xavier, Namaste. So stop looking at the surface of things and start looking underneath. Same ways, pull back the curtain and see the Wizard of Oz and who's pulling the strings. You'll make enormous progress then. Enormous progress. So the storm looks to have stopped. I knew it would. Storms never last long here, you know. But there's, you know, when you have the storm and you have the wind, it goes, ooh, it gets spooky, man. You're like, wow, the wind and the rain, and it's like, oh my goodness, you know. And of course, I'm not afraid of the dark, you know what I mean? So, all right. Thank you. This is Qesankh Ma Keperu, son of An Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Teteru. Until my next video, Amun Ra.